Okay, it's the moment you've been waiting for. We are dun, dun, dun. We are here with the Unnamed Card, the Scythe, the child of the great transformer, the Lord of the Gates of Death. I did a little research.
Talk about that name?
Well, yes, but first I want to talk a little bit about not having a name, which it doesn't in the Marseille decks. I was trying to do some research last night to figure out why that was the case. Was it simply fear, superstition, discomfort, not wanting to write the word death? Nobody really knows. I mean, I've seen some conjectures that it's just that on the Marseille deck, the scythe sweeps really low to the ground to the bottom of the card. It's basically right up flush against the bottom border of the card. And if you wanted to put a label there, you'd have to reproportion it or cut it off or whatever, because the skull of death goes right to the top of the card. It fills the whole thing. Anyway, it looks badass without the name, and maybe it made people take it a little more seriously. There is something about when you see that card, when you're using a Marseille deck, you throw it down, it's got no words on it, and you're just like, oh my God, even though you know better. So anyway, so you want to talk about the Hermetic title?
Yeah, Child of the Great Transformers. What do you think of that?
We need some Transformer music. So, the Great Transformers. So that sounds, I don't know, it sounds kind of like a Scorpio reference to me because of, Scorpio being the sign of transformation. But which Transformers are they talking about?
Referring to, it's like a lot of these titles, they're referring to the path. So if, we'll be jumping right into the Kabbalah here in that this path is between Tiferet and Netzach. So this is the very first path that's below that central Sephira Tiferet. And so the Transformers is everything above that. Tiferet and up.
Tiferet and up.
The Transformers, because below that you have the more mundane world.
Yeah. Yeah, you get down to the sort of...
So this is the first card beneath that, thus the child of the great Transformers, that whole upper section of the tree.
So the child, the scion, the offspring, the shoot, the shoot that's low down towards the earth and getting increasingly...
The shoot. That's interesting because, the letter Nun means fish, but another... It's also called the sprout, or to sprout. To grow and to sprout.
Yes.
So that's kind of
we'll talk about that much more, I think, because I think there are a lot of themes of multiplying and of fertility. We talked a little bit about that with the Hanged Man, the difference between the Hanged Man and death, being on either side of death. I think that his title, The Lord of the Gates of Death, is interesting because it's exactly opposite to the devil's Lord of the Gates of Matter, which is parallel, across from it symmetrically on the tree.
Right, so birth and death.
Yeah.
The two gates.
Something like that.
The gate of death and the gates of matter.
Right. Plus it just sounds cool.
It does sound badass. I think I want to get a t-shirt that says, Lord of the Gates of Matter.
I know, yeah. Yeah.
Going back to that, the great Transformers being above, and then you have that first shoot off of there, and being death. So death being a release of everything below. All that mundane worldly stuff, and then you're going up into the the higher realms.
So yeah, since we can't seem to keep away from it, let's just head straight into Kabbalah, why don't we? So it's
put your Kabbalah hat on.
Put on your Keter crown and your Kabbalah hat. And by the way, I should reiterate that we have fantastic Kabbalah material on the website. So when we're talking about this stuff, you're just like rolling your eyes and saying, what on earth are they talking about?
And not all the material on there is, Patreon only material. There's also free material for anyone. So please go there and check it out.
Mel wrote an amazing Kabbalah article for beginners there that explains all of these sephirot that we're talking about. It has a diagram of the tree. It really, really helps you get right into it. So don't be intimidated and just dive in. You won't be sorry. Okay. So as you were saying, the path is between Tiferet, the solar heart of the tree.
Yeah, it's on the path of the flaming sword.
On
so
the path
from
of the
6 to 7, the first one that goes below 6.
Exactly. So Netzach is 7, Tiferet is 6. The path of the flaming sword is the zigzag that goes from the top of the tree, and not every
and connects
path,
them in order 1, 2, 3,
Exactly.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Because of that, not every single path is on the flaming
Correct.
path. Because, for example, the path from Tiferet to Hod, like the devil's path, is not on it.
Right.
So, but that is supposed to be a path of creation, that zigzag flash or the lightning flash. And the Hebrew letter associated with it, as we were saying, is Nun, which means fish. Wow, there is so much to talk about when it comes to Nun and fish. Let's see. You want to talk Sephirot first, or you want to talk Nun first?
I guess Nun, since she's
Okay.
so much there. We might
There's
as
so
well
much there.
try to...
Okay, here we go. First of all, fish live in the water. It's a water sign. It's Scorpio. And if you look on the Thoth card, we have, let's see.
There's a fish.
There is a
there.
fish. Where is that fish?
It's behind his
Oh, yes.
spine.
I love this death card. Can I
do
just
too.
say,
It's yeah.
it's like one of my favorite death cards in the world. I
I
think
always
it's
love
so
the
elegant.
death card in every deck for some reason, even though I'm not really goth or morbid, but I love the death card, but this is my favorite death card of all.
There's something about the elegance and the geometry and the dance and the motion in it.
And you see, this card is supposed to be the Hebrew letter, if you look in Wang's book, you know how he associates a word with all the single letters and 2 words with the double letters, is movement.
Movement,
and this card, Crowley's card and Harris's card, shows that movement so much better than the weight card that looks very kind
looks
of
quite
rigid
static.
and static. And
he's progressing, but it's not a dance.
His horse is picking, but there's not a lot of movement there.
It captures that, like, the idea that this is a constant cycle. It just goes ceaselessly. And you can see
of transformation and transmutation.
Mm-hmm. And that, and the fish itself has to move all the time. It can't just lie in a bed like we do on a couch watching TV. But I just think that
they can't breathe if they don't move.
Right.
Or is that sharks?
That's sharks, I think. I don't know. But even they can
fish can
hang in the
stand
water,
still,
but they're still, they're not actually ever in one place because the water doesn't hold them in one place the way the earth supports us in one place. Anyway, so if you're looking for the fish, it's an extraordinarily beautiful color, I think, sort of an indigo blue, and it's behind the backbone of the death skeleton
They call
in the
it
Thoth
livid
card.
indigo blue in the color scales.
Livid, huh?
Livid indigo blue.
Curious.
Yes.
Not
it's
what I would have
curious.
guessed, but okay. So there's a fish.
Yep, and he's kind of got the snake coiled around him.
And there are other meanings. I was looking up meanings of Nun last night, and there are many besides
Right.
fish. One of them is descendants, be fruitful and multiply.
And you could think of that as, another life-death thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Sprouting and growing being another one. And again, descendants could be like on the family tree, like a sprout off or scion off of that.
Another one is kingship, and another one is falling. So there's almost like this opposition of the two, of like the moment of domination over matter and the moment of falling from it.
Like right before you fall asleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
that sensation
Right.
before you die to the world for another night.
There's also a river in the back of the death card in the Waite Smith.
Yeah,
so,
the boat.
Yeah,
There's a
and a
ship.
boat on it. So
I sometimes think of this card, the whole, because Crowley calls it life moving through the waters, and then in the Waite Smith card, there's that boat in the river, and I think of the song "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream."
well, it's interesting.
Life is but a dream.
Life is but a dream. The river is not only the place where the fish lives, but also, I myself have always had this vision as I go to sleep of going down to the river and getting in a boat. Literally every night I go down the shore and I get into the boat. It's not always the same boat, but it's always the same scene. And this, to me, this is the sleep that is the sibling of death.
The closest we'll get besides a sneeze or an orgasm.
Thanks, Mel.
Until the big day.
Until the big D.
Death, the not-so-final frontier.
Okay, let's see. And as far as the path goes, can I tell you about this cool thing I'm trying with paths lately? I'm trying this thing that I learned originally, a version of it in, I think, Marcus Catt's Secret of the Waite Smith Tarot or something, where what he did was he would suggest that you use like the 3 horizontal paths, the Empress, Lust, Strength,
Tower.
and the Tower, to negotiate between 2 and 3, between 4 and 5, and between 7 and 8 as cards. The idea that sort of creates the
a bridge.
Bridge between them. So I thought, what if you could do that between other numbers as well? So I thought, and I tried this with all the ones we were talking about today, but I thought it was especially interesting going between 6 and 7. I'll pull out my 6s and 7s. We'll be at 6s and 7s. So if you go from, here, I'll just throw all of my 6s down. If you go from 6 to 7 in any of the cards, and I just pulled out my Wade Smith cards, and you guys who are listening might want to try this, you notice certain differences between all of the 6 cards and all of the 7 cards. So like all of the 6 cards have that sort of Tiferet balance, that sort of purpose about them. There's practical application. There's trying to, there's a sense of community or like other people in the 6 cards. Whereas the 7th cards are all single figures. They're all like acting on their own. Netzach card is one of victory and endurance, right? So there's that feeling of seeking and trying to make something happen. So I think of like, suppose you put the death card as sort of a way between those two. I kind of think of like, for example, if you take the 7 of Swords going to the 6 of Swords and you imagine the death card between them, I think of that as sort of being like, so you have this agenda, you're thinking of yourself, you're trying to get a thing done, for number 1. But when you go through the death card to the 6 card, there's a realization you have to give that up. Mm-hmm. And you have to go somewhere to take care of others, take care of yourself, move on. And I feel like there's a little bit of that in each pair of 7 and 6. So it's something you can...
The 7s being more of an emotional realm. It's giving up that, desire nature.
Yeah.
To achieve balance of the 6s.
Yeah, you can really see that in the 7 of Cups and the 6 of Cups too, which is interesting to do because they're both Scorpio.
It's like the death would be the surrender of the desire nature in order to achieve balance.
The world of Maya, the world of illusion in order to achieve balance. And it's just an interesting thing to try with your 7s and 6s. Anyway, while we're talking about 7, 6 and paths. And I also wanted to bring up that scene in Promethea. So do you remember this? So Promethea is this wonderful extended comic by Alan Moore. It's
awesome.
It's fantastic. Mel actually has it. It was actually a talismanic work, wasn't it? Or an extended sigil or something? I mean, it's magical.
It's definitely magical.
And it follows a heroine's journey basically up the tree. And she goes, and I'm just remembering this because she travels the path of the flaming sword, doesn't she?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and as she does that, she passes from 7 to 6, from Netzach to Tiferet with her companion, and they're saying to each other, they get on the path and they see like this cartoony death figure in front of them, and they're like, well, it's a symbolic death. It won't hurt at all, we're just gonna go through. And then next frame, they're like lying dismembered, right, looking back at themselves somehow.
What happened?
That hurt. So, don't underestimate death is the message here. You really do have to give something up in order to ascend the tree, in order to achieve self-knowledge, or the knowledge and conversation of your holy guardian angel in Tiferet. The ascension is not without sacrifice. So, we should probably talk. Oh, wait, what's
alchemy?
This
the alchemy of fish.
Have we looked at? Have we seen all of the Netzach Hod references in both cards in terms of the imagery?
Probably not.
Probably not. Sorry, not Netzach, Netzach Tiferet.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the weight card's got a sun on it. So that's a
Tiferet.
solar Tiferet, reference. And you could kind of, if you liked, I have other explanations for this, but you could see the graceful maiden in the corner as a Venus figure, maybe.
Yep.
So,
or an empress figure, because I see the mystic rose there on Death's flag in the weight card isn't kind of empress.
It certainly is. I mean, and that's I've heard it suggested that there are both. There's this repetition of 5 as a number of Venus.
Right.
There are many numbers of Venus, but this is one of them.
But it's also a number of Mars for Gibora.
For Gibora, exactly.
Right. So there's
and that's life, the ruler
death,
of Scorpio.
Creation, destruction.
Mars and Venus, right? So they're both present in this card. And
it's a white rose, so I think alchemically of the phase of albedo that follows Negrito, the blackening phase. So it's like a washing pure, after the putrefaction of the death card,
right,
comes this more pure phase of whiteness.
Symbolically.
Symbolic washing from the burnt phase. Blackened, rotten phase, I guess you could call it.
Well, that's interesting. It's because on my way here, I was listening to a completely non-occult podcast. I can't remember if it was criminal or something else. Anyway, and it was a podcast about implicit bias, and it was talking about how
I often think of that, the blacks sometimes being negative and white being clean,
which we see,
and of course that's
throughout
really
the deck,
offensive,
which is really offensive if it affects the way we instinctively act towards people. And one of the things that I've tried to teach myself in dealing with the color black in the tarot is to, the idea that it's fertility, potential, black soil, I mean, the idea that
when I see Binah, I mean, that's one of the highest
black of
goals.
Binah.
I mean, and very beautiful.
Right. So, whenever I have someone in a reading who looks at the black flag of death or the black
armor
or the black armor or like on the 5 of Cups, the black cloak, and they have this horrible reaction, I always make a point of saying, break that association of black with bad, because it's not a real thing. This is something that's,
well, when I see the black and the white, especially together, like in the Waite Smith card, I always think of the supernals, Binah and Keter, and, that you return them, back
both.
To spirit.
Right. That you have to go through that. You have to have potential for things to grow. You have to have night in order to have day. You have to have sleep in order to have waking. All of those dualities are in there. And actually, I'd love to talk more about, white and black in both of these cards, because there's some pretty stark contrasts. And, I think the black armor and the black skeleton are particularly interesting because, first of all, it could be a Binah reference, the black skeleton, the idea that what's that?
Or Saturn.
Yeah.
Which is also in this card, but
I think, that's part of it. The idea that Saturn represents the structure of things, the bones of things, literally.
There's a lot to say about Saturn, but the black armor also makes me think of, when I see armor, I think of Mars and like a martial quality. And Mars is the card, the planet that classically rules Scorpio.
Right.
And plus the fact that death is like unconquerable, and you know what I mean?
Well, it's really interesting. Somebody pointed out in one of the texts, and I can't remember which, that the armor protects nothing, right? Because he doesn't have anything to protect. So it is instead bones, but the armor he wears is a mark of service. It's his job. It's his duty to be the Reaper, and he's wearing his uniform, right?
I think there's a Saturday Night Live skit about that. Death doing his job.
Death just doing his job, and it's that black armor is I don't know. There's something very honorable about it to me. The idea that you wear this thing you don't need at all. And even when we don't see armor, we often see him as a hooded figure in black, right?
Right.
And there's always some element that...
So another Saturn
the
reference.
scythe.
So with the scythe. Yeah, the Saturn thing is also could bring back Binah and Malkuth, the blackness, the mother and the daughter.
Yes.
The mortal and the immortal, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And death on a pale horse. This is why I brought my Bible with me today. So let's see. The white horse. Let's see. This is Revelation 6 we want. And I'll just read that real quick. This is the scene with the 7 seals and the opening of the seals that is the undoing of the world and the apocalypse. So, chapter 6, verse 1. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, "Come and see." So our 4 beasts again. Verse 2, and I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And then we go on to Revelations 8, and it says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
So this vision of death is sort of a vision of death in Revelation 6 as a conquering hero, in which we see more. That's kind of what it looks like in the Wade Smith card, where he has these 4 figures before him, and they all are, the implication is no matter who you are, you can't stand before death. You will fall before death. I've also heard that these 4 figures are a tetragrammaton reference, maybe?
Could be. There's 2 male and 2 female.
There's 2 male and 2 female.
So the Yod would be the guy in the hat there.
Maybe. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's
the
like...
The slain one would be the son, and then the mother and daughter there, perhaps.
Could be. I mean, there's a couple different ways to do it. I mean, I've also seen it suggested that this is the strength woman. She looks exactly like the woman on the strength
same
card
nightie.
from Wait. Same nightie, same headgear, so there could be a fire reference there. The king could be a Yod. I don't know.
So you got to bring in the Bible, so I have to bring in something that semi-conspiracy theory.
Go for it.
So in Book of Thoth, he says that the death card is the original secret male creative god. And then after that, he says very cryptically, Radiant Saturnia Regna, which is Latin for the kingdom of Saturn returns.
Oh, interesting.
So if you Google that phrase, just to see what comes up, you get a whole big thing on,
God.
It comes from, a poem of Virgil's. He's a Roman poet, and it refers. So if you look at the Great Seal of the United States on the back of it on the bill, you got the eye and the triangle again, like we've seen in the last card, the Hangman and Fortune.
And in Fortune, yeah.
So, and it says under it, Novus Ordo Seclorum, New Order of the Ages, right? So that comes from this poem, and if that's where also the kingdom of Saturn returns comes from. So it says, now comes the final era of the Sibyl's sons. The great order of the ages is born afresh, and now justice returns, or the kingdom of Saturn returns is how it's really supposed to be translated. So it's the great order of the ages is born afresh, and the kingdom of Saturn returns. Now a new lineage is sent down from high heaven.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, he just throws it in there, Radiant Saturnia Regna, the kingdom of Saturn
That's
returns.
For you. It's just like
and then he
the
leads you
illusions
down
in.
a wormhole, and you end up on the Great Seal of the United States somehow.
It always works out that way, somehow or other. I forgot there's one more fish reference that, because we were talking about these 4 figures. So that bishop's mitre, that's a fish head mitre. And,
oh, come on. It's not a phallic symbol.
It is. I think it's literally called a fish head miter because it looks like a fish's open mouth, and because of the Christian reference to Christ as the fish.
Oh, the ichthus.
The ichthus, the Jesu Christu Theos. Sorry, I'm going to do this right this time. Jesu Christu Theo Huios Soter, which means Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. Ichthus.
So that's a nota recon of the letters. And
yep,
ichthus, fish.
Yeah, ichthus, and hence the fish head miter. It does seem kind of ridiculous, but that's supposed to be on purpose.
Well, it's kind of cool that death follows the hanged man because the fish coming out of the water.
Yeah, the fish coming out of the water, exactly. Cool.
We've got the Osiris helmet.
Oh, yes. So in the Thoth card, right. Yeah.
And, the whole Osiris underwater, Osiris in the waters of Amanti or the Duat, where the sun god battles the serpent of chaos, or stories of that nature.
Mm-hmm. And so this is the Atef crown.
He's stirring up the waters. You can see with his scythe, and those bubbles are rising with forms of new life within them.
So this is really interesting. I mean, we talked in the Hanged Man about the idea of sacrifice, the sacrifice that precedes death. But here we have the death that precedes life. We have the moment of death releasing resources and nutrients to create new life. And we remember that he's not just the killer, but the reaper. He's reaping a harvest so that to nourish the next generation to come. Right? That's the scythe is the end of the one cycle and the beginning of next.
Right. It's kind of meant to be a willing death, the self-slain in purpose of truth so that you can be transmuted into this new form.
Yeah, and that sort of reminds me of something we haven't talked about, which is also a connection between hanged man and death, which is that, in so many agrarian societies, there was a human sacrifice, a willing sacrifice to ensure the good harvest. So there's like that connection between the two.
Long live the king is dead.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And we haven't yet talked about the 3 scorpionic creatures
it's time
in
to
the Crowley card.
About Scorpio, isn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, I can't believe we got this far without talking about Scorpio any further. So we've talked about the ruler of Scorpio being Mars. Venus happens to be in detriment, but we still see Venus references.
Right. It's Pluto in the modern astrology, but in classical terms, Mars was the
And the
ruler.
reason that we tend to talk about the classical planets in this podcast is because those are the ones that are threaded throughout the deck astrologically. And be sure to read Mel's astrology article to get a handle on that. The moon is in fall in Scorpio, but I don't think we see any particular references to that.
Unless you want to count the scythe blade.
Yes, the scythe blade, like a crescent moon.
Like a crescent moon.
I kind of like that. Okay. All right. So,
you know what? There is a moon reference in here.
There?
Look at the very right-hand corner, the poppy pod.
I was going to say something completely different, but okay.
What do you got?
Wait. Where's
But there's a poppy pod. See? That's a poppy pod.
Let me look in the actual card.
Yeah, look in the card. That's a poppy pod.
Oh, it is.
And that's a definite lunar reference.
Yeah.
Poppies.
Yeah, the opium
and,
the sleep.
The sleep of death.
Well, that's cool. Well,
so
I was going to
say,
say,
and there's over there. See, there's a lily over there, and then there's the opium.
Yes, and the lily hasn't.
Now, I don't really see it. Do you see that? There's supposed to be an omega. I don't see
the
it.
Omega.
Do you see the omega?
The lily has sort of like a capital A alpha form.
Yeah,
but I can see the omega.
Okay.
It's right here. See,
well, it's supposed to be the alpha and omega. And
see, look, it's sort of on its side.
Oh, okay.
So
there it is. Yeah, I see it now.
Like a horseshoe.
All right.
But what I was saying about is that on the weight card we have the Towers of the Moon.
Right.
In here.
There's the moon, exactly.
We have the Towers of the Moon on the right side where the sun is setting. It's setting or rising, if you like.
And with that little
behind the moon's
it looks like
towers.
a city there, doesn't it?
It does, actually, or something. Yeah, so there are moon references of the moon in fall, which is, sort of appropriate for the death card, I guess. So anyway, we were talking about
Back to
Scorpio. Yeah. So, and Scorpio and Death are, not every single zodiac sign is a great match, but this is one of the best, don't you think? Because, Scorpio rules the 8th house of death and transformation and sex. And, and here we see that.
And taxes.
And taxes.
Make you wish you were
resources. It's the house of the inevitable, I guess. So one of the important things about Scorpio is that it has 3 forms because it is the sign of transformation, right? So what's the base form of
the snake?
Scorpio? Yeah. The snake is the base form?
Or the scorpion, I mean.
The scorpion.
Yeah, the scorpion is the base form, the lowest form, if you will, and the snake being the middle form, and then the highest form is the eagle
or phoenix.
Right?
Yeah.
So solid as the dense form, the scorpion kind of, and then liquid, the undulations of the snake, and gaseous form, the air of the eagle.
Yeah. And that reminds me, the scorpion part, the scorpion looks so much like the armored death. It has that black casing around it. And this card is also associated with the Kephra beetle, which I don't know what that is. Do you? I forgot to look it up before we did.
What do you mean what it is?
Well, I mean, is it a scarab beetle? Is it the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, scarab beetle.
All right. So that's even more significant because first of all, not only is it that,
the mythology's there.
Yeah. It's not only, hard encased in armor like the scorpion, like the death figure on the weight card, but it's also, isn't that the beetle that carries the sun?
The sun on, so in Liber Resh, that's the sun beneath the earth.
So that's the passage beneath the earth.
Kephra in thy sinking.
Ah, okay. Carrying it to the other side to rise again. So it's the death of the sun, every day, Tiferet, to rise again in victory, Netzach, on the other side, carried by this armored beetle. Yeah, it's pretty perfect.
Die daily.
Die daily, die often.
The snake is, I think Crowley said, if not someone talking about his card, that life and death are opposite curves of the serpent.
Nice. The serpent of creation and destruction, which is why we have to have a snake in practically every single card.
And another thing I love about this card are the lines. See those lines that are twisty, kind of
in the
geometric
Thoth card.
lines? Yeah. And it reminds me of DNA, but you can guess what Snuffin says it is.
What?
He says it's the skeleton's phallus. Well, I mean, it is coming out of his groin area. But and even if to me it looks like DNA, but DNA and the phallus are
intertwined,
are sort of similar in nature, you could say.
Yeah. I mean,
and it is coming from that general area, but the lines are actually attached to his legs, almost as if he's
I feel like he's dancing
puppet,
them,
right? Or a marionette, or almost looks like he's getting pulled up through the waters, and that made me think of Fish and Fishhook,
Yes,
and if you do reduce this card, you get 4. So the Emperor, the Fishhook. But that's what made me think
I know.
It looks like he's getting pulled. It
could be,
threads.
or what if he's like a spider and he's weaving his web? The other way around. I don't know. It's just interesting. There's just like this continuous thread of life, which he doesn't appear to be cutting with his scythe.
No, he's stirring.
He's stirring
up the muck and releasing those bubbles of gas with new life.
Yeah.
And you can see the scythe blade, see how it chops the head off symbolically of that lower figure? There's 2 figures here. So see the lower one, and he's separating. Actually, I think that was in Snuffin's book. He said he's like symbolically decapitating that lower figure, and then the more vital figure is rising up. In this bubble. So that figure that's kind of below looks kind of slumped over and dead.
Right. And that releasing those resources to make new life. Yeah. There's another reference, solar reference, that's kind of implicit, which I talked about back when we were in the Fool card, about the red feather in the Weight card, where the Fool has this red feather that reaches towards the sun in the Weight card. And then in the Sun card, you have the child with the red feather, which reaches toward the sun. And here you have the Death card with this helmet with this red feather that's drooping. And it's sort of like as the light of the sun wanes, the feather, what's a way to put it that's not? The feather deflates, the feather wilts, the feather detumesces.
The flaccid feather.
Oh my God.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. Welcome to the pub of the esoteric, the flaccid feather.
On a more serious note, when you mentioned the whole unnamed aspect of the Marseille death cards, it made me think of the unnumbered fool. And
yes,
so there's a death
right.
fool.
There's a death fool
reference.
There's another really good connection between the two of them in Marseille, because they are the two cards. If you place them side by side, they are in the same position. They're in the same body language. They're holding their utensils in the same way. It's almost as though the fool has been unclothed of his flesh and become death. It's really interesting.
One is unnamed and one is unnumbered.
Yes, that's right. And in between,
it makes me think of
unclothed.
The blank rune too. That
I
forget the name of that one, but it's blank.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Okay, so the astrological minors associated with Scorpio and therefore death are the 5, 6, and 7 of Cups, the Lord of Disappointment or loss in pleasure, the Lord of Pleasure, and the Lord of Debauch or illusionary success. Fascinating, I think, all of them. So the first one is the 5 of Cups, of course, the cracked cups of Mars, bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
Cracked and spilled. So cracked in the Thoth version and spilled in the Rider-Waite version. And also Mars is in his rulership and throughout the sign of Scorpio. And then in this decan, he's ruling this decan. So there's a whole lot of Mars going on.
It seems
here.
like there's almost too much Mars is the problem with that card, which you'd think would be a good thing, but apparently in the sign of water, too much fire and too much Mars is not necessarily pleasant.
Yeah, I think of this as like Mars's ambition getting the best of him. You know, he's so hungry, he's so power mad, and then he's never happy, right? Because he's always thinking
the hungry ghost. It's never enough.
Ghost, exactly. That's it. It's like it's never enough. You have your 2 full cups behind you, but it's no good. And you know, it's glass not only half empty, but like completely empty, actually. And in the Thoth card, is it the one with the transparent glasses? Yeah, that are cracked.
The dried seabed.
Yeah, and the wilting flowers, and the idea of fiery Mars having dried up all the water there is.
Right.
And I think in your Tabula Mundi card, you have the like dead fish skeletons.
Literally, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
The cracked earth and dead fish.
And then you have such a relief to go on to the 6 of Cups, the Lord of Pleasure.
This is one of the most beautiful minors.
Yeah, it is absolutely stunning. You know, and interesting when you think of it, this idea of the sun and death together, you know, that is somehow a happy union. But I think in a way,
sun upon the waters, swimming in the beautiful lake, the sparkly sun shining,
and there is a sort of a sense of exchange and harmony within it. You know, it's a
6, the card of Tiferet, the heart center. You know, the balanced solar force.
It's the gift you give. I mean, I always think about that with the 6 of Cups. There's a selflessness about it and a caring for someone else, the giving and the taking. And even like in the Death card, there's that idea that the setting sun, you know, it's like you die to rise again, right? I mean, the idea that it's, that by your altruism gives rise to new life, or your sacrifice gives rise to new life. It's just interesting to see how, like, the Tower and Death produce such a disastrous effect in the Five of Cups, and then the Sun and Death turn into something completely different in the next.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we have, this is the most interesting of all, the Venus in Scorpio card, or Venus, ruler of the decan, of the third decan of Scorpio. Lord of Debaucher, Lord of Illusionary Success. Venus is in her detriment throughout the sign of Scorpio, and yet ruler of this decan. And so it provides a certain relief. So the dark side of the Seven of Cups is very clearly expressed in the Thoth card, right? So the hangover card.
Yeah, right. Yep.
The idea that that something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Right.
that there's a putrefaction and decay. But the lighter side of it is expressed in the Rider-Waite card. The fantasy and the artistic impulse that comes from this card. I've always thought of it as the card of the artist. So it's a card of decay and addiction, but also giving rise to fantastic forms.
I guess it all depends on how you see illusion, you know, whether you see it as positive or negative.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think of this card as being like Mrs. Haversham's wedding cake, you know?
Right. It has an artistry of its own, but I also think of this card as like recycling and compost and fungi, you know? It's sort of like the decay of things
that grows out new things.
That's so nutrient rich for growing things. Or like, you know, like your fish skeleton in the Five of Cups. Fish, you know, matter is fantastic for growing new things. Yep. You know, so somehow out of that, you know, it's the whole Scorpio transformation thing where, you know, out of this decay and death comes something new and potentially beautiful. Right. You know. Right. The Venus element here.
The gassy elements that rise from the putrefying, you know, swamp.
It seems especially appropriate that in this final decan, you know, the Empress or Venus makes an appearance and she starts to grow
life
something.
And death again.
Yeah, life and death together.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Oh, colors? Want to talk about the colors?
Yeah. Well, so we had in the last card the greens, but here or blues and greens, and now in this card we have a green blue for the king scale. So it's a beautiful color. Actually, it's
gorgeous.
One of my favorite colors is that kind of tealy green blue of the ocean waters. And then there's browns in the card. There's a dull brown and a livid indigo brown or something, or livid indigo blue. Actually, it was. But then there's a very dark brown or a dark brown and a dull brown.
There's like a beetle brown about it.
Yeah, that's the very dark brown. I guess that would be the color of the scarab beetle.
Yeah,
the shiny,
the dung beetle.
Yeah. So dull browns and shiny dark browns and livid indigos and green blue of the water.
Which we don't see so, I mean, we see a little bit of blue in the Waite card, but it's more,
you see the water blue.
It's not a coherent color argument the way it is in the Thoth card.
And you don't really see the browns anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's okay.
And then there's the black for, you know, the Saturn reference. There's.
Right. So gods that we associate with this are, you know, Pluto, Hades, Hypnos, because, you know, sleep and death being similar, and Mars, of course, because of
Morpheus,
rulership of Scorpio. Yeah, Morpheus too.
Although I think of that as more with the moon card.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I think we can probably go to
smells. So. Well, before that, I just wanted to sort of mention some of the other animals that go with death. The idea that, you know, there are other animals that are like the bat and the wolf and the vulture, you know, animals that recycle flesh basically into new life, help break it down.
The vulture.
Interesting.
I've been seeing a lot of those lately.
Yeah.
Cleaning up the roadkill.
And there's so much of it around right now. Okay, so yeah, I think we could go to smells. Myrrh, again, is one of, because it's a water sign, but you already smelled the sweet myrrh for
More Saturn.
More Saturn.
I think of Murs.
More
and Saturn and Binah.
Yeah, but specifically, one of the things that goes with this path is benzoin.
That's surprising.
Yeah, I can't remember why. I found it in the ritual use of
as
perfumes.
Venusian.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of...
Vanilla-y and sweet and...
There's a lot of overlap, and there are probably only, a dozen esoteric resins that, that people agree on, and we have 22 majors, so there's a little bit of repetition. But you know what I also associate with death?
Dung.
Well, I didn't bring that, but I did bring some tobacco. Tobacco smell, which is really interesting to me. And, that's not a very conventional reference
Smells good.
For Scorpio. Yeah, I like it too, but it is a conventional reference for Mars. And so for me, I think in the voodoo tradition, if you want to call up Baron Samedi, who is associated with death, right? You leave tobacco at a crossroads and some liquor and stuff like that.
Say, don't forget the booze.
Don't forget the booze. So there is a sacred use of tobacco in a lot of different places indigenously. And there's something about the way that tobacco affects the body, the fact that we smoke it and burn it, that it seems very closely tied to death. Besides the fact that tobacco kills you, but
put another nail in your coffin, as they say.
Coffin nails. Yeah, so, and tobacco has actually become a really popular ingredient in perfume lately, because there's a whole line of, so the designer Tom Ford has a perfume that might even be called tobacco vanilla, and that launched like a whole sort of trend in tobacco vanilla perfumes. So my own Scorpio perfume is a tobacco vanilla because, not because I love being derivative, but because it just smells so good. You can imagine how this smells with vanilla, right? There's just like a balance and a sweetness and sort of naughtiness to it. That's really cool. So, okay. So there's that. And then, yes. So that blue-green that you mentioned. So, we remember that green is associated with Venus, which is the note, F sharp. We go up 1/2 step and we get to G or G to,
that one sounds more deathy.
More deathy to associate with the color blue-green on the absolutic path of death. How cool would it be if like Beethoven's Fifth or something was, I think it starts on G. Da, 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 da. Okay, I'm gonna check that. Hang on. All right, victory is mine. So G is actually the first note of Beethoven's Fifth. Kind of random, but very cool. And as usual, it makes you wonder about Beethoven.
Yeah.
So I guess the key themes to remember for death. We barely talked about death as an ending, but we talked a lot about death.
It's a willing ending. It's
as
like
a willing
release. It's a release
right.
of what you
right.
are ready to
a release of accumulated, stored nutrients of, being able to harvest or reap what you sowed, what you grew, and being able to start a new cycle with that. So for those of you who may have had an uneasy relationship with death, the key is transformation, not ending. On that happy note, I think we're done. Okay, so join us next time for, a little card called Temperance. See you then.